Welcome to the Get Off Your Brakes, How to Make and Keep Good Decisions webinar. We're going to help you stop sabotaging your success today. This webinar is about 90 minutes long, so make sure you set aside the amount of time that you need. Also, make sure you stay to the end, because there's a special bonus for you. Now, the audio on this webinar was originally not up to snuff, so I literally re-recorded it. At the very beginning, you'll hear a little crackle, and there's a spot at the end for about 4 minutes where my mouth and my audio won't sync up perfectly. Bear with me because the content is worth it. Are you ready to get started? Let's get you more confident. Let's just dive in.
All right, we are going to get started. Good, I'm so excited, I have so much to teach you, I can't waste time. So the people who come in late, we'll just see how we do and we'll add them in as best we can. But we're gonna honor the folks that made time to be here on time tonight. So let me, and this is awesome, see I get to play with my technology and get my stuff all loaded up here. So I'm going to start sharing my screen. You're gonna see my slides.
And I'm going to teach you because I have so much to teach you. So you totally need to be looking at words while I'm talking to you because that should help you. Okay. All right. So we're going to get you off your brakes. We're going to teach you how to make and keep good decisions. Okay, here are the pictures of me. All right. I've been to like 22 different countries, and on the right, that's a picture of me. I was in like the middle of Australia. I was like on my way to a minor town called Coober Pedy. We stopped at this place, and they had camels and emus and all this really cool stuff. And that's me in my kitchen with stuff on top of my cabinets that I've now fixed, if you read my blogs. It's important I introduce myself for those who aren't familiar with me. Some of you have met me from the Turning Point Summit. Some of you have met me from the Self-Love Blueprint. Some of you just know me from online and coaching. My name is Tanya Stewart. I'm a former 15-year lawyer, and I've turned into a life coach, specifically a life purpose catalyst. Okay. Now this is a big deal here. Oh, we're going to take a moment here. Now see, this is what happens when you're doing like live webinars. I mean, 2 points to Diana. Thank you so much. Everybody can now see the screen. See, I was doing all that great introduction and nobody could see the screen. Diana, I think I know who you are. We're going to make sure that we're going to give you some extra love. You guys have to help me because this is my first webinar. So if you can't see something, you can't hear something, just yell at me and I'll figure it out. But that's okay. We were just talking about my pictures, and there they are again. There's a picture of me in front of a camel in Australia, a picture of me in the kitchen. And remember, there's always a slight delay in these webinars. Oh, and in case you're wondering, I did not ride that camel. Camels are actually quite smelly. I don't know if you've ever been quite that close to a camel, but it's really not that exciting. That was me. Promise time. Important stuff. My promise today: when you understand what is stopping you from making decisions, you'll be able to start fixing it. That's what we're going to help you do today. When you understand what's stopping you, what's on your brakes, you can start fixing it. So, what we're going to do today. First, I'm going to teach you my 4-step decision process. 2, I'm going to help you learn what's stopping your decisions. And 3, I'm going to give you easy tools to begin with. Sound good? That's really going to help you get this process going. But I will tell you that the very first thing that you have to know, you have to understand why you're not making decisions. You know, the name of the webinar is Get Off Your Brakes. You have to understand why you're on your brakes to begin with. Why you can't make decisions. What it costs you, and why you don't know how to begin is what I'm going to teach you. So by the time we finish here, you're going to know all of those things. What it's costing you to not know these things? You're telling me you feel insecure. My clients have confusion. They have overwhelm. They're spinning. They're in a place of, oh my gosh, I don't really know what to do, where to start, where to go. And every time something big comes up, a lot of times people just sit on it and kind of let the decision make itself. Here's what you need to know. The main reason you can't decide is commitment. That is the block that is holding you up. Remember, I told you this in block movers training, but even if you didn't see it, the block that's in your way is commitment. And the main reason you can't commit is because you have too many fears. I'm going to give you tools today to begin managing those fears. I think that's really going to help you. Now, you've probably heard this before, but you know you have about 60,000 thoughts a day. Estimates say between 60 and 90 thoughts a day. And here's the shocking part. About 90% of those thoughts are exactly the same as they were yesterday. Like you're duplicating them, like you're running a loop in your head. And here's the crazy part. Almost all those thoughts are fear-based. I can't, I won't, it won't work, this is scary, what to do about this, I don't know what to do about this, I don't have enough, they don't love me, this is embarrassing. All those thoughts are running through your head day after day. Okay, I want you to breathe deep with me right now. I don't care where you are right now. I hope you're not in a car. If you're in a living room, just breathe deep with me. And say it out loud, unless it's going to really embarrass you. I'm going to say it, because it feels good. And I want you to notice how your body feels when you breathe deep and say, yes, I can. Yes, I can. Yes, I can. That felt good to me. You get all this nervous energy when you're presenting somewhere, and you can't hear people, so you can't get feedback. So, yes, I can. That is the mindset I want you to go into this webinar with. So how is this webinar different? Well, maybe you've been on different webinars and you've seen these things before. It's simple things that you can understand now and apply tonight if you want. I'm basically going to give you 3 different tools that can help you right away. And here's a bonus. I love bonuses. If you guys actually stay with me to the end, I'm going to give you a free gift worth $175. So I'm thinking that's pretty good. And I admit that that's a bribe. But you know what? Time is precious and valuable. And if you're going to invest in yourself to learn, I'm willing to invest back. So stick around to the end. No matter what, I'm going to give you a free gift worth $175. Okay. Housekeeping rules. No multitasking, no texting, no TV, no surfing. I really want you to focus. One of the things that's blocking you in your life is your attention span is fractured. I guarantee you, most of you right now have multiple windows open on your computer. In fact, it actually also impacts your computer's bandwidth. So when you're watching a webinar for technical reasons, it's actually also a really good idea to close down the tabs except for the ones you want to watch. Put your phone on mute, stick it out of the way, tell the people around you, hey, I really want to focus on this, so please don't ask me any questions. This is you investing in you. This is you investing in you. So it's really important for you to show up and be here. Really be here. So, why am I here teaching you? I asked you a poll question, and a lot of people are saying, yes, I can. That's a yay me. People are saying, yes, I can. This is awesome. Why am I here teaching you? And Diana, if you're still here, if at any point, by the way, I disappear or something attacks my internet, I will reboot and get back on. It'll probably take me like 2 minutes or so. So if something happens to your feed, just reboot your feed or close all your tabs and windows and refresh. I'm here teaching you. I'm just excited. This is what trips up all of my clients. I'm here teaching you, and I have a background to teach. People are wondering, who is Tanya Stewart? What are her qualifications to teach? I have a law degree, which is a Juris Doctorate. I have a bachelor's in science, engineering psychology. I have an advanced certification in hypnotherapy. I'm doing a PhD in metaphysics. I've really got some alphabet soup that merits me to be able to teach you. Somebody is excited. Now, this is actually a re-record of the audio. During the live audio, the audio was more difficult to hear. So I have actually re-recorded this audio so that you will have an easier time going through the webinar. So if you see chat screens on the right where people are talking about audio issues, that's what they're talking about. Now, and this was a challenge too at the time. You'll hear it later, where I spent some time talking with people trying to troubleshoot the audio. And since you're here and there isn't any problem with this audio, I will tell you an extra little thing. The commitment that you're putting in to watch this, regardless of what the audio is doing, is already changing your life, is already making a difference in the way things are going for you. So, do you have a pen? Do you have a piece of paper? If you don't, grab one right now, because you want to be writing down. You want to get your ahas. You want to get your notes. Now, one of the things I was telling people at this point was that life is live, and that when weird things happen to you in life, there isn't a replay button. There isn't an ability to re-record an audio track. You just keep going. So that is exactly what we did. We kept going. Now, the pictures that you're looking at are pictures of me doing what I do, which is busy walking around, presenting, running a show. The picture of the bookcase picture is really cool because they built that set for me. I told them I really wanted a bookcase set, and they had all these virtual sets, but they actually physically built me a bookcase set. So when I got to host that online TV program, that was so awesome. Many of you probably don't know, but I privately coached Les Brown. So the world famous motivational speaker, I met him while I was doing that show where they built me the bookcase set, and he liked me. And I ended up doing some private coaching for him. I did some marketing coaching, and I did some life coaching. So if you're wondering if I have the ability to coach, yeah, I guess I do. That's a picture of him, and that's him saying, I'm a dynamo and a treasure, and if you get a chance to work with my energy, just grab it and listen to her. I do. That is probably one of my most favorite treasured thoughts in the entire universe, that Les Brown trusts me to coach him. So pretty much whatever somebody's throwing me as a client, I can handle. Now, let's get to work. So I want to get you feeling more confident in your decision making. So it's time to work. We're starting off right away with the 4-step decision process. Okay, you got your paper and your pen. It's not a surprise that the first step in this process is commitment. Commitment drives everything. There's nothing in your universe gets done without you being committed to it. So if you're looking for a way to improve your life, to do better, to reach your goals, to lose weight, to start a business, to have better sex, attract your soulmate, every single process, every single decision, every single element requires commitment. It is the major block to everything. The second step in my 4-step decision process is clarity. Now, this is how this works. Once you actually make a commitment to something, you get clarity. In this case, clarity is just truth. What I mean by that is when you make a commitment, and I'll give you an example. I'm committed to teaching. I'm committed to teaching you guys. Then my truth becomes very clear. If something is difficult, for instance, getting this webinar going or having the audio sound wonky, my truth is I could stop or I could have not stopped, but I'm very clear that I wasn't going to stop. I was going to keep teaching. You make a commitment, clarity comes up. If you actually commit to losing weight, it becomes clear to you whether the way you're eating is a problem or whether the way you're eating is helpful. Number 3 is choices. The third step in the decision-making process are our choices. Once again, we start with the commitment. Things become clear to you as you tell yourself the truth. And once you tell yourself the truth, I've seen this happen 1,000 times. Your choices almost always drop to two things. One or two. One of the biggest problems that my clients suffer with is they can't choose. They feel like there's too many options out there. That's because they're not doing the commitment and the clarity first. When you do commitment and clarity first, your choice is always narrow. I'm going to use weight loss because it's an easy example. If I'm committed to losing weight, I can become clear that I'm eating too much sugar. That's just the truth. I'm eating too much sugar if I want to lose weight. What are my choices? Eat less sugar and lose weight, or don't, and don't lose weight. You see how I now just have one choice? Eat less sugar. This is seriously how it works for any decision you have to make. If you're sitting there in your head and you're thinking, oh, what about that job with that promotion? Or should I go back to school? Apply the commitment, go to the clarity, which is tell yourself the truth. Your choices will immediately narrow. Your fourth step is the best step and my favorite step, which is inspired action. All of us probably believe in a higher source, spiritual connection, God, universe, whatever it is you refer to source as. That's who speaks to you through your intuition, through your gut instinct, through things that people say and you hear. And what I find most people have a problem with is they want to make a decision, ask for the inspired action before they're doing step 1, 2, or 3. So they haven't made a commitment, and they haven't told the truth to themselves about that. And they still have 11 billion choices out there. And they just want the universe to just decide for them. What I teach is that's really kind of a violation of free will. You're really trying to ask the universe to make your choices for you. That's not actually what it's designed to do. You have free will. But if you commit and tell yourself the truth, and you narrow the choices down in that process, you will get inspired action. And it's a lot more likely. So right now, if you're one of those people who's thinking, I have such a hard time getting my intuition, I will tell you, lack of truth blocks intuition. Number 2, clarity blocks intuition. You need it. So why commitment is the most important? Many of you probably know, you're probably on my mailing list, and that's how you got here, is that I had this complete epic fail right before this webinar went live. I'd been working on it. I brought the software. I started trying to work on this software that I got to do this webinar, and it was just ridiculously difficult. Everything about it was difficult. I kept running tests. I kept trying different things. I'm on tutorials. I'm on webinars. I'm sending help requests and submitting trouble tickets. And here it is, the day before that webinar was supposed to go, the day before I was supposed to teach you guys, and my software's not working well enough. And I realized, you know what? I had to make a decision. This is an exact situation where I had to use the 4 steps in the decision-making process. You see, I couldn't disappoint you. I couldn't just sit there and say, oh, well, whatever issue we got, oh, well. This is the high-end expensive software. I was sitting there and I was anxious and I was nervous and I was getting stressed out. I was going through everything that you guys go through and you're trying to make a decision. If I switch the platform, then I had to consider there'd be people who can't show up. There'd be people who missed the notice. And you know how I made this decision? Number 1, I committed. I looked at what I was committed to, which is teaching you guys, no matter what, keeping my promise. And I asked myself, could I keep my commitment with crappy software that I couldn't even navigate without being distracted? And the answer was no. So I went and bought some very expensive software, and I spent the entire day before the webinar and night learning it, putting everything together. Because I was committed, my choices went down to 1. My choice was fix it, solve it, get different software. It wasn't make do anymore. You can see how, oh my gosh, all that confusion, all that worry, all that stress, all that anxiety went away the moment I decided my commitment was to teach. My clarity that I needed to have was I needed to have decent software. And then, of course, I got my choice clear, which is, hey, I just went and bought the software and made it happen and worked late. And obviously, my inspired action was so many times along the way, I had to figure out that I just couldn't figure out, but God just helped me. The answer was just there. So I want you to just see that you can go from a place of feeling horrible and crappy and anxious and confused. And when you apply the 4-step process, you stop spinning. It fixes epic fails. So, with that in mind, why are you not making decisions right now? It's because you're on your brakes. I call brakes bringing resistance and killing effort. Bringing resistance and killing effort. Being on your brakes is about being afraid. When you're on your brakes, it's because there is no commitment. That is what makes you feel insecure. So for instance, when I was trying to work with the crazy software, I was trying to make it fix, make it work. I'd already spent money for it. I didn't want to spend money for another one. I wasn't in my commitment, which is to teach you guys and teach you well. That made me feel insecure. When you're on your brakes, there is no commitment and it makes you feel insecure. How do you fix the insecurity? You manage, identify, and reduce your fears. So, the first tool I'm going to teach you for making decisions, and my clients are on here have heard me say this, and I love it because it's so simple, because you can get one anywhere, is a rubber band. I want you to put a rubber band right on your wrist. I'm right-handed, so I tend to put it on my right wrist. And the next time you're in a position where you're feeling insecure, where you're spinning, where you can't make a decision, I want you to reach down and snap your rubber band. What that's called, in a fancy term, is a pattern interrupt. What it does is it gets your attention to the fact, I'm doing something that I don't want to do. When you snap that rubber band, you kind of open up an instant window for yourself to notice that I have a fear going on. Whenever you're feeling insecure, can't decide, and you're on your brakes, you have some kind of fear going on. Snap your rubber band and notice it. Now, most people won't tell you this because, I don't know, I guess they want to sell you, but I'll just tell you this. When you notice a fear, you cut it almost in half. Depending on where you are spiritually, it can drop by as much as 80%. By literally just noticing the fear. I teach people it's like dragging the fear out of the closet, right out into the living room floor. When you do that, you're really doing something. So your rubber band is your first tool. When you start to spin, you notice you're screwing up, when you're making a decision and freaking out, get your rubber band on your wrist, snap it, and then tell yourself what it is you want to do. Even if you don't know the answer, you can tell yourself, yes, I can do this. Yes, I can decide. Yes, I can feel better. Now, what does it cost you not to make decisions? I like to use a car analogy because most people are familiar with cars. You can't navigate. If you don't make a decision, you're like a parked car that hasn't started. You're just sitting there and you're stuck. You're just stuck. You can't navigate because there is no clarity. Remember, the second step is clarity. You can't go anywhere when you're not telling yourself the truth. It makes you feel confused. How do we fix that confusion? You're going to tell yourself and tell others the truth and get into integrity. Now, the tool I'm going to give you for fixing the confusion and to increase the clarity, which is the second step in the decision-making process, is I'm going to give you 7 questions, and I call them 7 aspirational questions. And I'm going to warn you before I even start them. They're tough. Okay, they're just tough. But these tough questions will give you a very quick test on how am I doing and how can I do better. Number 1, do you have a consciously created life, or are you a victim in your life? Number 2, what is your priority on self-care and your commitments? You know, when we talk about how are you taking care of your life, you don't want to know if you're a victim. Actually, are you constantly attached to telling a story? If you're constantly attached to telling your story, well, I would have had this great job, but then this guy messed it up. And anytime it comes up, you tell the story. Anybody is always telling the story of why they can't. And don't freak out if you're recognizing that you've been a victim, because that's the truth. Remember, we're talking about clarity. These questions are designed to get you some clarity. You can't go anywhere unless you know where you are right now. What is your priority on your self-care and commitments? I failed this one several years ago. That's just the truth. I was so good at taking care of other people, but not as good at taking care of me. It's like everybody was in front of me. It was like a circus. Just everybody was in front of me. And I had to come to realize that that meant I had low self-love. I wasn't taking good care of myself. It was the truth I needed to tell myself so that I could change. So I'm going to ask you guys in a poll, how are you on your self-care? I'm putting a little poll up on the side, and you can let me know, how are you doing on your self-care? Number 3, can you consistently identify truths that are painful to others? This is where you're looking at a situation where you can clearly see how your uncle is screwing it up. You can clearly see how your employer is being defensive and projecting all their issues out on other people. You can see the truth in other situations, which is a really good sign. Because to be able to see truth, you usually have to be able to see it outside of you before you see it inside of you. Number 4, what is your response to truth? When someone tells you you're wrong or shows you a better way, are you okay with that? Are you that person who's just, oh, well, I'm not really interested in doing this a different way, and I don't really want to hear this? And God of us will say, man, we're really good with this, but when it hits, bleh, we start getting that taste in our mouth, and we start trying to figure out why the other person's wrong. Your next one, do you share truth when it is unwelcome? Now, this one I found was a very difficult one. I found there are people who can spot truth, people who can hear truth, but to tell somebody else the truth is where they really, really get hung up. They are not good at telling someone, you ever been in a dating situation with someone where someone wants you to love them, but you don't. And it's going to hurt them to tell them that. But do you tell them? That's an important one. 6, are you treating anyone as a priority that treats you as an option? I'm totally interested to see what you guys have to say about this one. Doing a poll again on the right side. This is one where I was a willing participant. Typing it in, are you treating someone as a priority who treats you as an option? So I'm going to ask you guys this question because I'm really curious to see how my group is doing on this. And this is where basically, I used to do this years ago in my dating, where this guy was a priority. If he wanted to go out, I changed my plans. If he was calling, I stopped working. If he needed me, I was just right there. And when it was my turn, apparently I could wait. Yeah. So it's like, about 67% of you are saying that you're treating somebody as a priority who treats you as an option, which that is actually a really good thing to spot. When you're going through this process of improving your decision making, I want you to focus on that one. Those of you who said yes. Those of you who said no, that is freaking awesome. You've probably just got kicks in the teeth. Oh, we're up to about 50-50 now, about half and half. Those of you who said no, really pat yourself on the back. You honestly probably just got abused one good time too many and decided to stop doing that, which is how most of us learn to stop doing this. Last one. Do you need the people around you, or do you want the people around you? Now, at first glance, it looks like I'm asking you the same thing, but I'm not. It's a different thing to need someone than it is to want someone. See, when you need somebody, it's basically saying you're not complete without this other person. If this other person wants to leave, your world would just spin into a mess. So if you're in the habit of needing the people around you, you're going to get yourself in some really weird truth situations. You're going to have a hard time with your clarity. So let's see how many people are doing the whole need versus want. So I'm going to do another poll. Let's see how many people are doing the whole need versus want. Need or want? Do you find more people in your life that you need or more people in your life that you want? And I will once again throw myself under the bus. My whole life was need. Like my whole life was need. My whole law firm was need. All my clients were need. Clients who couldn't pay me. If those of you who have a business and you have clients who can't pay you, you have a really strong level of need. And it took a lot of work to come to the point in my life where I realized no more of this need, only wants. I'm really glad to see this. 29% of you, about a third, about a quarter of you need, and 3/4 of you want. Wow, we have a high-level group. I'm just going to teach higher. I'm just going to enjoy myself. High-level group. The third thing is, so we've talked about commitment. You don't know why you're making these bad decisions because you're confused. We talked about the lack of clarity that keeps you from navigating. And why don't you know how to begin? You don't have a catalyst to start. If you know anything about an engine, or like catalytic converters, it needs the little spark plugs to start it. It needs some little external spark to start the whole process. And you can't pick a catalyst because there's too many choices and too little inspired action. It makes you feel overwhelmed. So begin when you're sitting through this process and you're stuck and you can't get any help because you can't get any choices. You can't get it done. See this a lot with people who are looking for teachers. I call it shopping for gurus. So if your inbox is filled with like 17 or 18 or 20 different people emailing you tips and tools and all this stuff, you have too many choices. When you have that many choices, you tend to not take action. That is just the way that goes. So I'm going to encourage you to notice that overwhelmed feeling. Work on it. How we fix overwhelm. We're going to introduce an accelerant, which is something external from you. Like I call myself the life purpose catalyst because I come in and speed you up. But we're going to introduce an accelerant. And the simplest one I know is to commit to something scary. Committing to something scary. I promise you, it's like, it helps learning to make decisions. If you really want to actually work on this step, commit to something scary. Something you would not normally otherwise do. Weight loss program, sign up to run a marathon, tutor children at school, something that scares you. That becomes the outside accelerant. The tool I want to talk to you about here is a commitment journal. Just a really simple tool. I want you to notice I'm giving you really simple tools. We got a rubber band to deal with the fears. We got 7 questions to deal with our truth and telling the truth to ourselves. And this is the most simplest and maybe the most powerful of the tools, the commitment journal. What a commitment journal is, it doesn't have to be a fancy book. It could be a notebook, it could be a legal pad. Simply a place where you write down your commitments every single day. Yeah, I have a commitment journal. I have one here with me. Let me see, I write down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I happen to write down 10 commitments a day, but you don't have to. Whatever it is you're working on, I want you right now to ask yourself, what is your commitment? Stop and think about it for a moment. What is my commitment? If you're working on weight loss, you can say, I'm committed to losing weight. If you're working on becoming more spiritually evolved, you can say, I'm committed to strengthening my relationship with Source. If you're working on improving your decisions, then you can be committed to getting faster decisions and sticking with those decisions. Whatever that commitment is, you should write it down every single day. Now, you can have more than one. I have 10. I wouldn't recommend that you have too many to start off with because this is a new exercise for you. But it is critical that you do it every single day. You probably heard it takes 21 days to make a habit. which is absolutely true, it'll take you a while before this commitment journal really starts to show dividends for you. So I'm going to encourage you, I hate to say it, I commit to the commitment journal. Yes, I said it. Commit to the commitment journal. Now, here's the cool part about this. At the bottom of every single page, what I want you to do is to give yourself a grade. I want you to give yourself a grade. You give yourself a grade on a daily basis. What will happen is your brain will be trained to manage it and pay attention to it. You've heard the phrase, you can't manage something unless you measure it. We're going to actually give something that is an emotion or an effort a daily measurement. This will make all the difference in your ability to able to deal with circumstances. So every single day when you write your commitment, I will tell you my top commitments in my journal I write every day. First line is commitments deliver clarity. The second one is everything is solvable, like the internet and the technology issues. I kept thinking, this is solvable, this is solvable. And I write that I can command my focus. Super important that you be able to grade these. I use a scale of 0 to 10. So each day when you write down your commitment, the next day you go back and you write in your grade. How did you do? Just ask your gut really fast. Your gut will tell you, oh, we're about a 7, or about a 4, or we got a 10. I actually will even grade myself above a 10 if I did extraordinary. So this is a really cool exercise. And I'm going to ask you in a poll now on the right, how many of you keep journals? Because I'm curious to see if you're already journaling. If you're already journaling, this is going to be something that is a little easier for you. If you're not already journaling, this really will be a little difficult for that first week or so. It's going to be a little difficult. We'll get our numbers in and we'll see how many of you journal. It looks like somewhere around 50-50. I'm actually going to give you a little bonus, little tip about journaling in a second. You're going to remember to do that. Because honestly, journaling is really powerful. If you don't have a coach, the easiest way to make change in your life is to journal. So I'm going to recap here. The rubber band is going to help you identify fears and help you change in that moment. I didn't need the rubber band when I was looking at this whole webinar platform situation because I was so focused on my commitment to you. Because you guys aren't as strong with your commitments right now, the rubber band is what you snap as soon as something starts to feel crazy. You feel spinny, you can't decide, anything feels out of whack, snap your rubber band, and immediately say how you want to feel. There's some of you out here who are thinking, oh my God, this is like a form of programming. Yes, absolutely it is. Your body will get used to the fact that when you snap the rubber band, we stop doing the thing we were just doing, and we start doing this different thing. So this is actually a really valuable tool. And the rubber band, I'm sure, is free. And we talked about those 7 questions. I'll tell you, I'll share a personal experience that happened to me recently. Many of you that watched the Self-Love Blueprint Summit, if you watched several of the interviews, you would have heard me talking excitedly about, I really just found my guy. I just found my mate. And I was so excited. Like, I just couldn't get any more excited. And I will tell you that it hurts and it sucks, but it wasn't him. Like, he just didn't make it. And I will tell you that how I was able to figure this out and save myself from horrible damage is I asked the 7 questions. So I will tell you that these 7 questions will help you to be in truth with yourself. It also helps you when you're looking at other people. When I asked the 7 questions, over time, when I saw more and more of him, I began to see that he wasn't the conscious creator that he said. He was really a victim in his own life. I thought, oh my goodness, what have I got myself into? And then I got a person who could spot truth in other people. But he couldn't actually hear truth himself, and he couldn't give the truth. You see how these are really valuable tools. I needed to make a decision about whether I was going to stay and try to make this work and force it. And because I was able to use those tools, I made the right call. was able to say, you know what? This is not a good idea. Yeah. I see people saying, they're not able to do this stuff, but it's just not a good idea to be involved with people who are violating all seven. And you might be the person thinking, oh crap, I'm violating all seven. Well, here's what I'll tell you, and you know this to be true. This is a spiritual law. You get what you are. You get what you are, not what you want. So if you're the person who isn't fitting in well with those 7 questions, you're going to attract other people just like that. So I really encourage you to look at those questions. Don't look at all 7, because that would be overwhelming. Work on one at a time. Just pick one out. Just say, how am I doing today? Let's see, can I tell the truth to somebody else? Can I spot the truth in somebody else? Can I be welcoming if somebody else tells me that I'm not working, instead of trying to deflect it or explain it or defend it? And our other recap is to commit to something scary. Usually when I teach this, I say weight loss. Weight loss is a good example. I've mentioned it before to people. There's a weight loss program called HCG, which I did myself. And the reason I love it is because it's like a Marine Corps boot camp, absolute, like you were on it, like you were straight. Anything you can commit to that you can just scares you right now is really going to help you. If you can stick, you will really boost your ability to commit things. Remember, commitment is the first step of the decision-making process. One of the reasons you can't make a decision and you're going back and forth between things, and you can't assign something a priority. You can't assign it a priority because you haven't made a decision. So use your commitment journal to focus daily and measure your progress. One of the other things you can do, if you want to commit to something particularly scary, get a coach. And people need to know this. Poor people think that you get a coach if there's something the matter with you. And rich people get coaches just to get better, to get more. So I really want you to know the difference between that mindset. It's the difference between that mindset of all the best athletes, all the best top executives, all the people who are top in the world, all have coaches. And by the way, getting a coach is scary to everybody. I was just talking to another person the other day. Nobody has a piggy bank to get a coach. And I promise you, I just spoke with a client who literally had a piggy bank. It was just bizarre. Now, you can't make and keep your decisions because you can't commit, which is step 1. You can't commit because of your fears. I want you to focus on your breaks. Remember, that's bringing resistance and killing the effort. Remember, if you focus on the breaks, things are stopping you from making decisions. And here's the truth. You all know what's stopping you from being a good decision maker. I don't know if you watch my video, but some people like to get information. I call them the researchers. I'm going to check this. I'm going to Google this. I'm going to read this. I'm going to download this. They don't want to make a decision. They just want to get more and more information. And then they get too much information and they get overwhelmed. Or you get people, I call them the committee, where they have to ask 20 people. They can't make a decision until they've got 5 people, and hopefully 3 people vote one way and 2 the other, and then they can decide. I want you to work on your breaks. Figure out the kind of decision maker you are. Figure out what's stopping you so you can spot those fears, snap that rubber band, and then you can decide. I promise you right now, you have the ability to decide. It is just a habit that you don't decide. I want you to hear that right now. You are not indecisive. You have the ability to decide. You're not the person who doesn't have the skill set to make decisions quickly. You're simply in the habit of not doing it well. Oh my gosh. Okay, that was a lot. I am taking a big deep breath. I'm going to take a sip of my mug of tea. I want you to stretch your arms out. Wiggle them around with me. And I'm going to ask you guys how you are doing. Get a pull up on the right side. We'll see how you're doing. Check in, take your temperature. See if I'm going too fast, if you're getting it, or if you're not. And the votes are coming in. I'm still stretching. I'm sitting in a chair and I'm very close to my laptop and making sure the audio is working. And look over there in that poll and let me know how you're doing. Click the button. Let me know if you're getting this or if something's fuzzy. The secrets to self-sabotage. Yes, Pam. Whew, this is seriously good, says Mike. Thank you. Oh, good. Most people are saying we're getting it. Some people are just a little fuzzy. Whoever's a little fuzzy, just write your thing that you're fuzzy about in the chat room and I'll double back and clear that up. It's really important to me that you guys really get this. If you can really get that being able to make a decision quickly and hold that decision is what is standing in your way of everything in your life. And when I say everything, I mean everything. If you want to start class or school, you need to make a decision. Then once you start school, you have to figure out how to pay for it. And then you'd have to pick the classes. Everything requires a decision. Everything requires a decision. You know, Pam's saying you might have an addictive personality. You know, I want you to not think of that as your personality. I want you to think of this as your habit. Everything I teach when I coach is to get you to separate who you actually are, which is a beautiful, loving, infinite, eternal spiritual being, from the habits that you have right now. So you could be an alcoholic, and I would say you have the habit of drinking, but that is not marring your eternal soul. As long as your eternal soul is there, and I'll say that to Mike, as long as your heart is still beating, you can still change. That's a big one. So you can do that. So I'm excited. Let's see. Okay, good. Most everybody's getting it. Good. Thank you very much for letting me know that. We're moving on. You can learn anything. You can learn anything in the world. You want to learn a foreign language. You want to be a coach. Some of you told me you want to be a coach. I teach a lot of coaches. You can learn anything. But if you can't manage, identify, and reduce your fears, you won't get anywhere because it blocks commitment in all situations. Everything you're trying to do will get stuck. This is exactly how I become more fearless, more confident, wealthier, and more open to love. When I say open to love, that includes being open to risking being hurt and still loving. Which means I can tell the world that I think this man is my soulmate. When I discover it's not him, you know what's funny? I wasn't heartbroken. When I discovered it wasn't him, I was like, oh, well, that's not him. If somebody else is, and I just let him go. I made the decision, and I just was able to let him go. How many of you can just let something go? How many of you can let the cheating husband go, let the job who's abusing you go, let the friend who's never there for you go? Those are all decisions. Now, I really want to share with you how I've done this. I'm going to ask your permission to share with you how I've become more fearless. Can I share with you that? Woo! I got a yes. Remember my promise. When you understand what's stopping you from making your decisions, you'll be able to start fixing it. What's stopping you? It's your fears. Every single decision you don't make instantly or without regret is because you are afraid of something. Well, thank you, Douglas. Oh, I want to say your name right. Dele? Thank you, Dele. Okay. I want you to understand that it is always a fear. You're always focused on your decision. I want you to back up off every decision and ask yourself one question. What am I afraid of? Anything you procrastinate, anything you don't answer, anything you don't tackle, there's a fear behind it. Just ask yourself what it is. The funny thing is, when you get in the habit of this, you'll actually hear an answer. Maybe you'll hear it out loud. I don't know. But you'll get an answer. What is stopping you is all these fears. They have you put on your brakes. I want you to think for a moment what your life would be like if you weren't on your brakes. What if when somebody came to you and you wanted to do a podcast, you just said yes, even if you didn't know how? What if somebody came to you and said, I want you to come teach with me, and you just said yes? Or if somebody gave you an opportunity to travel, you didn't even know how you were going to pay for it, but you always wanted to go to Australia. I just went to Australia and China for a month last year. I just said yes. And then I figured out how I was going to do that. What would your life be like then? You are online watching this right now, and you want more confidence. And you probably already know if you want to work with me. I have created my Fearless Group Coaching Program, and I'll tell you why I've done it, because I've been doing private coaching for a very long time. But what I found is that you can actually get more gains sometimes in a group coaching program, because you're watching the other people screw up. It makes you feel so much better. Like, you look at their stuff, when you see other people's truth, remember that question? You'll see what they're doing the minute they're doing it. They won't, but you will. It's so supportive. It's so useful. And I got tired of seeing all these really good people sail and stay stuck. I got tired of people telling me they couldn't afford private coaching. I got tired of all the people I know just they want to read everything and learn everything, or in every webinar, every book, everything, but they can't apply anything. And the biggest reason probably that I went ahead and built the Fearless Group Coaching is because it's my purpose, to serve one to many. That's just what I do. God asked me to do this. And I figured, well, that's a pretty big reason. That's good enough for me. My Fearless Group Coaching will give you 3.5 hours of my coaching every month, which is an hour a week for the first 3 weeks of the month. And then, unlike other group coaching, you also get private coaching with me, which is 2 15-minute sections, which is a half an hour. I'm going to tell you something cool, because this is really important. So many people confuse their why and their what with their how. So what I find is someone will talk to me and I'll say, how are you coming on your life purpose? And they'll say, oh, well, what's going on is they might know what they want to do, but they don't know how they're going to do it. If you're in that situation, you know what you want to do, but you don't know how you're going to do it. Separate the two of them. Remember, the what is the commitment part. That is the secret. Knowing your what or your why is the commitment. The how is further down in the process. Remember, the 4 steps in the decision-making process. Right now, whatever you're tackling that you want to do but you don't know how, some of you are just freaking out on wanting to do it but you don't know how. Remember, the what or the why is the commitment. Step 1. The how comes about in step 3, which is choices, and step 4, which is inspired action. That is really important information. Now, when we're doing our coaching, we do group calls, we do private calls, all recorded if you want that, so you get the recordings for your notes, because some people don't like to take notes. We do group webinars, we're going to do a private Facebook group, we're going to do checklists. I'm probably also going to do custom hypnotherapy for this group. I'm kind of excited. I'm just going to play with it and see what I can get. We're going to spend 6 months together covering these things. Now, I'm about to teach you some stuff here, so pay attention. Pattern spotting. You've probably heard me talk about this before, because this is a skill you need to have. If you're making the same mistakes over and over again, this is something you want to have. If you didn't do my block movers training, you're going to want to do my block movers training, because I talked to you about how to spot patterns, and it gives you a little tool about how to spot your patterns. We'll talk about applying universal laws, which keeps you from wasting energy. For instance, this is personal, but I'll tell you. When I discovered that soulmate wasn't a soulmate, the first thing I knew was, oh my gosh, what's in me? What is in me that I drew this guy? Because that's a universal law, like to like. It's impossible for me to draw that guy without there being something in me. What I learned is I had a fear. Remember, it's always a fear. I had a fear of drawing in a man who's spiritual evolved as I was. I kept thinking that he would be behind me and then he'd have to play catch up. So of course I kept attracting men who were behind me and had to play catch up. That was me using the universal law and using pattern spotting. Because I was able to see that, I was able to release this fear, and hopefully the next guy that comes in my life will be a soulmate because he'll have all the things going right and he'll have the spiritual evolution that I need. That's the kind of stuff that we would be learning. Ego versus intuition. I hear this so much in coaching. People don't know how to hear and trust their intuition. People can hear your intuition. If you can hear it, you can choose better. Now remember, intuition is blocked when you don't have clarity, which is step 2. When you tell yourself the truth, you can boost your intuition. You want to boost it? Start telling yourself the truth. If you're in a situation where you really don't like the person, don't say it out loud, but tell yourself the truth. If somebody hurts your feelings, be where you are. A lot of spiritual people do what's called a spiritual bypass, and they think, oh, I shouldn't feel bad. Oh, I will be positive. I will say positive affirmations. La, 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 la. That's bullshit. It's lying about where you are. So please do not do that. Connecting your head to your heart is something else that we work on in our Fearless group, so you can feel secure and better handle your stress. And I will teach you the secret of what I figured out about head to heart. I'll tell you for a moment. A lot of people say, I know it with my head, I just have to get it to my heart. It's backwards. Your heart knows everything. It's connected to source. Your job is to get what's in your heart up to your head. There's actually a process for doing that I developed. I'm going to be sharing that and honing that in Fearless Group. Relationship repair. So many of you come to me with relationships that are damaged, the people you just need to leave, and you're just stuck. Okay. And I want to ask the question, I want to see how many people are in a relationship that they need some repair work. So does your relationship need repair? Put up a poll. I'm going to go with yes and no. So let me know if you're in a relationship that needs repair. I'm curious. If you're not in a relationship, just pop in the chat box and say, I'm single. That'd be me saying I'm single. Because something is really important. It so impacts your life. If you've ever read Think and Grow Rich, you know that your mate is one of the strongest influences on whether or not you're going to succeed. When you have a mate that doesn't believe in you, it holds you back. It is so very difficult to succeed. It was that day when I'm divorced myself, when I asked myself that question and I realized, oh my gosh, my mate doesn't support me. So, if your relationship needs repair, let me know in the chat poll and see. The 4 R's of doom. I call these the 4 R's of doom. Hey, Harry's happy being single. Hey, Harry, you have to send me a picture and a bio because I'm up here being single too. I'll be on camera in a second. You can see what I look like. Oh, and Justin's single too. Woo, I got a bunch of single men here. I might just teach these webinars for that. This is awesome. Nicole said things are better thanks to you. Thank you, honey. She's one of my clients, and we worked on getting the dynamics of her marriage improved. And I'm just really happy and proud of her. Thank you for that vote of confidence. I call the 4 R's of doom: resenting, regretting, resisting, and rescuing. And I will tell you that I was a rescuer. You can see me right now. I would be raising my hand. Rescuers come from a place of need. So I surrounded myself with people who needed me. My clients, they just needed me. Their asses were always on fire. They never had their money. I had a whole law firm full of victims. 15 years as a lawyer, and I had a law firm full of victims because I was a rescuer. And when you're a rescuer, you attract damsels in distress. Breaking that pattern took a lot. It took a lot to me to wake up one day and realize that rescuing was about me not wanting to do my own shit. It was about me not wanting to own my life and write my book and step out in public and become a coach and teach people across the planet. When I stopped rescuing, I was able to do that. So I can help people who had that particular problem extremely well. Yeah. Tell me, by the way, in the chat, are you resenters, regretters, resistors, rescuers? I was a rescuer. So let me know what your particular brand of negative poison was. You guys are totally being fun. I'm so enjoying this. Okay. When you learn how to identify your fears, you can stop them. When you can stop them, you can get off your brakes. And then you can commit to your life and your growth. And when you commit to your life and your growth, you start the 4-step process to get you everywhere you want to go. Everything you want is behind your ability to commit, which is held up by your fears. When you manage, identify, and reduce your fears, you can get the love, the money, the business, the weight loss, the health of your children, the purpose, all of it, everything. I can't stress this enough to help people. Nicole says she's a rescuer. I can coach her really well. If you're a rescuer, you really want to hang with me because I've got the rescuer pattern on lock. I really know that one. It's so, so important. Now here's what's fun. If you only got a fraction of the results I've gotten in your life, your life would still be so much better. You ever meet a weight loss person who lost 80 pounds? You're thinking, crap, if I could just lose 10 pounds, it'd be better. If you could just be focused on whatever you're working on, if you could be focused on the business you're trying to start, on improving your marriage, if you could be focused on improving your health. I mean, how many of you are not drinking 8 glasses of water a day? I don't have to raise my hand because I caught myself on that. And I'll tell you a little trick because I love you guys. I cannot drink plain water. Like, it's just boring. So what I do is I make a pot of herbal tea, and then I drink the pot all day. And I have to make sure the pot is empty by the end of the night. So there's your extra bonus tip on how to get yourself to drink your water. Make a pot of herbal tea so there's no caffeine, and then watch your pot all day. It's a visual reminder of how much you have left to drink. That's what you want to do. Now how many people recognize this? Let's see who's the first person we can get in the chat who can recognize who this person is. Badass Coach. He's like 6'5". He's like a giant. Okay. Let's see who knows his name. And one of the people I know here, Mike. Mike's actually not a fan of this particular coach. A lot of people are, though. Deli doesn't know the name. Josh has got it. Tony Robbins. He gets results for people. You know, if you're really good at hearing him and you're in his audience, he can get results for you. Okay. Yeah. Terry got it too. You do his 2-day program and his 5-day, which is the next step, and then his thing in Fiji, it's like 26 grand. Yes, he does have size 14 shoes. Yeah, Harry knows his shoe size. Oh my God. Harry's totally on this. He knows all this stuff about Tony Robbins. He's impressive. He gets good results. If you look anywhere, he's all over social media. Tony Robbins decided to camp out in the woods. 10,000 people would just go sit there to just see if he'd say something interesting. So what is the investment for Fearless Group Coaching? $497 a month, $497 deposit, and a 6-month commitment. Now, honestly, I used to just use 1-year commitments, but truthfully, you guys are just nervous. I mean, you're just plain nervous about making any kind of commitment. And I really want you to get going. I want you to get a hold of some results and see your life start to change. So I really made this as easy as possible. Okay, quick math, because we're not hiding any numbers. $29.82 plus a $497 deposit. You're getting 21 hours of coaching. You got no travel costs. Tony Robbins, you're kind of flying all over the planet, paying for hotel rooms. With me, you're not having travel costs. We're doing our stuff virtually. Although at some point in the future, I probably will have an in-person thing because I think it's cool. I want you to join me. I need 10 more fabulous case studies. I need somebody like that Jared guy for Subway, that guy that lost all the weight and looks skinny. I want to make you awesome. I want to use this to launch my coaching to the entire world. Join me and let me make you a fabulous testimonial and a light literally, just to the world and your family and to everybody. This is how you get to where you want to go. You just make a decision and you start doing the very next thing that you know to do. You make the commitment first. Now, bonuses? You know I love bonuses. I give bonuses for no reason. First bonus, if you know you want to coach with me right now, just for this webinar, I'm going to waive the $497 deposit. Why? Because I can. Because I really want you guys to get going. And for your second bonus, and this one's badass, I'm going to give you a Soul's Purpose Discovery call. This is a 2.5-hour call in which I will discover and share with you your life's purpose guaranteed. It's worth $875. I've done it for multiple people already. In fact, Steve on this webinar, I did it for him. So, and I think maybe another person too. So Nicole actually, I did it for her. You want to know what your life's purpose is because it pulls you through. It makes all of your decisions so much easier. It's so valuable. And it's something I just want to give you because I can. $497 a month, 6 months. With your bonuses, you're saving $1372. But I don't want you to buy. Not right now. That's not what I want you to do because you're sitting there and you have all these things in your head. I want you to call me. I want you to click the link next to you and schedule a time to talk to me. Do that now. You see, that's the decision that I want you to make. That's the next step that you can take. That's not super scary. Click the link right next to you and schedule a time to talk to me. Schedule a time to ask me your questions about coaching. Ask me your questions about life. Ask me how to make this work. Remember, you're not supposed to be considering your why and your how together. Oh my gosh, why do I really want to coach? Well, you know why you want to coach. How will you get the coaching? Most people don't know the answer to that. I can help you with that. So schedule a time, and if you're a fit for the group, I'll let you know. If maybe you're private coaching. I have a lot of private coaching clients. That works. And if you don't fit me, I'll tell you that too. So schedule a time to ask me your questions about coaching, about life, and about how to make it work. You can just be curious. That's okay. Click the link right now on your right and schedule a time. Put in your name and your email and check my calendar. It'll automatically adjust to your time zone wherever you are in the world. And if you're outside of the U.S., make sure you include your Skype address because that will help me because we'll have our conversation on Skype. So now we are actually going to do our Q&A, and I'm going to open up the floor and open up the mic, so to speak, for you guys to ask me questions because I really want you guys to get this. I really want the value of this to come home. I want you to be able to commit. Now remember, most people can't commit because they're not separating their what or their big why from their how. Your ego loves this. This is what your ego lives for. It's going to give you a big dream and then it's going to go, oh darn, we can't live our life purpose. We can't write that book. We can't start that business because we don't know how. It's time for you to use what I taught you about making decisions. Make a decision to schedule a time to talk to me. You can commit to the idea that you need to do something different to change your life and to get another result. Thank you for letting me lead you. When you manage, identify, and reduce your fears, you're going to open all the doors to where you want to go. Click the link, enter your name, and by the way, your gift for staying the whole time, remember I promised, is on the very same page. So you're going to be on the same page, clicking that link and making sure that you get your gift for staying the whole time, and you absolutely want that gift. It's very valuable. And we are going to open up the Q&A, and shortly you're going to see my head. You're going to see what I look like. So let's do some Q&A. You can enter your question in the chat box, and I will be happy to answer it. For those of you who are on this webinar and it's a replay, you can email me a question if you want to email me a question. Somebody tell me if you can see my head. Oh, Steve, you are so sweet. Yes, he was the person I did the life purpose call with him. He's saying that I actually was able to figure out his life purpose in the 2-hour call. Thank you very much for confirming that. People probably think I'm just making that up. Honestly, it's not even a skill I knew I had until recently. It really came about recently. So that was Douglas. Oh, hey, you just saying I look great? I recall that you saying you're single, so I'm making a note about that. Thank you. There's my camera. In the beginning when I was muted, I was telling you that my camera, I am glowing, thank you. My camera has a psychological mind of its own. Zooms out, in, I don't know. I bought a top-of-the-line webcam, just does what it wants to do. Somebody asked me, issue is, tell me in the box, I'm here, I want to answer your questions. Sitting here, you're not paying me, so ask me a question. Go ahead and see if you can stump me on something. Ask me something that would make your life better, so I can help you. And I will tell you that on that relationship repair, everybody's relationship looks good. Everybody that answered it said they were good. I've got a good group of really stable relationship people here. Pam says she can't wait to put this into practice. Simple but eloquent steps. Thanks for the hard work. Another question, where does this play into the ego? Okay, this is cool, good question. These steps are so simple, your ego is going to tell you they won't work. It's going to say, well, they're not hard enough to work. I promise you, this is exactly what your ego is going to do with this. It's going to be like, how could snapping a rubber band make me any difference? Ego want you to try because it wants you to stay where you are. Remember, the ego is a voice of fear and separation. And what did I tell you? What we want you to do is to manage and identify and reduce fears, which is reducing the ego. So the ego is not happy about this. This is something like, for instance, that we do in Fearless Focus Coaching. We do a lot of ego work because your ego, the easiest way for you to understand this is to imagine your ego is a completely separate person from you. And they hate you. That's pretty much the best I got. If I had to give you advice without coaching you, I will tell you that when you roast your ego, want you to do something, my best advice is to do the opposite. So I will tell you, for instance, when I'm doing a workout, I start lifting. I got my little, look at my muscles look big. I start lifting, so I will do my reps. And there's 12 reps in a set. And I get to 10 or 11, and my brain is like, come on, I want to stop. I want to let myself stop. If I hear my ego complaining, I do extra. So my ego wants to stop at 7, 8, 9, and 10. My ego bitches about that, I do 15. Do extra. Do the opposite of what your ego wants you to do. Okay, let's see. If you learned just one thing from this seminar, there's like a jet passing by. My front door was open. The jet's like set off a car, so we're going to close the door. Okay, door closed. If you learned just one thing from this seminar, you're set. For higher level people, I will tell you when you go into any kind of training program, it's called the principle of the slight edge. Look for one thing.
Look for one thing and apply it. Remember, I told you earlier that one of the problems is that people, they're like magpies, like birds. They're always gathering this. You don't need more information. You need to apply information. So I'm pretty particular. A lot of people will send me information, but I try to be particular to keep my sources narrow because I try to apply what I'm learning. So that's an awesome comment, Harry. Josh says, how can we practice self-care if we've been lacking in that area? Ooh, that's a good question. The first thing is you're awesome because you're telling yourself the truth. So that's one of those 7 questions. Hey, how am I doing with my self-care and commitments? You're telling yourself the truth. What you want to do is you want to pick out one thing that would be self-care for you. Now, this doesn't always have to be a spa date if you're a woman. If you're a guy, self-care could be watching a Clint Eastwood movie, okay? It can be just sitting on the couch and doing nothing. It can be anything that you are doing for the purpose of giving back to yourself. So please don't judge what your self-care thing is. A lot of men don't do self-care because whenever they hear the term self-care, it's manicures and makeup and people getting their hair done. And that's not just self-care. Self-care, for instance, is instead of drinking one of those energy drinks, drink a protein drink. Self-care is drinking 1 glass of water. So I'm going to challenge everybody tonight to drink 1 glass of water before you go to bed. And I want you to count that as your self-care thing. When you get into the habit of adding self-care into your life, even in tiny, tiny, tiny little ways, it'll make a difference. Josh, what I would tell you specifically is when you use your, and I have my commitment journal here, commitment journal. When you use your commitment journal, I would add in a daily commitment. I take better care of myself every day. That's a good commitment for anybody to write. And you can see, I don't know if you can see this. So there's the date at the top, there's my handwriting, and there's my little score at the bottom, because I score myself every day. So does that make sense, Josh? You can absolutely take better care of yourself. Do not assume that self-care is spending money. A lot of times self-care is taking time with yourself. One of the best things I do for self-care is I don't stay on the phone with people talking about crazy shit. That's my self-care. So, and my mom has had to learn this. I promise you, my mother actually knows. She asks for a block of time because it was abusive to me for her to get me on the phone for 2 hours when I thought I would talk for 20 minutes and then everything I was gonna do can't get done. Cool, I answered your question. So scheduling your time, making sure people, and I'm gonna give you a really cool tip. This is awesome. When you get on the phone, you pick up the phone, if you're busy or you don't want to talk really to the person who you're answering the phone call from, before they start the conversation, tell them your time parameters. This is huge. So if I'm really busy, earlier today my friend called me and I'm prepping for this webinar. I answered the phone and I said, "Hi, Vic, I've got like 2 minutes." Okay, so immediately she knew I couldn't have a big conversation. And then she wasn't offended when I got off the phone in 2 minutes because I had to be present to do my work for this. So that's self-care, to make sure that people do not take up my entire evening on the phone and then I don't have time to read or relax or work out or do whatever I wanted to do. That's something that we definitely would be working on in group. And I will tell you, for the people who are still listening, if you're interested, I'm going to throw in one more bonus. I'm actually going to throw in a 7th month free. So when you do the 6 months, you're going to get the 7th month free. So that means, I think that's like $1,900 in bonuses. So you get the 2.5 hour Soul's Purpose call, and you waive the deposit, which is $497, and you're going to get the 7th month free. So we're going to start that group coaching program. I want to start it in June, and we'll do a soft start in June. So we've already got some people enrolled, and we'll get started with whoever we've got. And then you're just going to get those a month tacked on the end for free. So that's because I can. I love doing things like that. I love surprising people. It just makes me excited. Dele, tell me how to pronounce your name, because it's D-E-L-E. Is it Dele or Dele? I speak French, so I can kind of make this work. You said that having all these steps in order was extremely helpful. Remember your 4 steps for the decision-making process. And if somebody asks me, by the way, I will send you the PowerPoint slides so you can have the 4 steps and you can have the 7 questions. So on the page where you hit my link, just ask me in there if you're scheduling your call or whatever. Just remind me and ask me that you want to have the PowerPoint slides, so you have the 7 questions and you have the 4 steps, because it's commitment. When we're committed, it leads to our clarity, which is our truth. And when we do our clarity, which is our truth, it narrows our choices. Once our choices are narrowed, it's so easy for the universe to guide us. The universe guiding us when we're thinking there's 17 options is so hard. When there's 2, when there's 2, you can put one thing in your hand and put another thing in your hand and go, tickle one of my hands, you know? I tend to do a 1 to 10 scale thing. That's big for me. Okay, Mike wants me to send him the slides. So Mike, I will send you the slides. I really appreciate you guys being here with me today. It's a commitment. You've all already shown a commitment. You've invested in yourself. You've invested in this time. You've stepped forward and you're like, hey, I want to do something different. I want to be able to make and keep decisions. The trick to making and keeping decisions is to wrangle that first big step, which is commitment. And the trick to wrangling commitment is to manage your fears. So remember, you're going to use your rubber band. When you notice that you're not making a decision or you're in any kind of crazy, any kind of spin, snap your rubber band. I don't have to do it anymore. I will tell you that when I first did this years ago, I promise you, it looked like somebody punched me. Like, I used to tell people to snap the rubber band anytime they have a negative thought and they notice it, but I stopped telling people that because I'm scared that like, I'm scared people will be reporting me as an abuser of some sort. They'll be like, what did you do to this person? Nicole, I will get you the slides. In terms of grading ourselves, might we feel shame if we slip one day? Oh my God, Luke, that's a great question. That's a great question. The shame that you will feel, first things first, if you don't do anything differently, you will absolutely beat yourself up. So I was just telling a client of mine this the other day. The grading is not for shame purposes. It's so you push yourself. You've probably heard this term a lot called gamification. We are designed to be competitive. So you're basically competing against your score. So for instance, in my book, if you look at most of my books, my average score is a 9 or a 10. 11 or 12 on a 10 scale. In one of my books, I think for 6 months, I had 2 6s. A 6 is like, I was so ashamed those days. I wrote this, one day I almost got a 6. It was like 11:30 at night and I could just feel that I was about a 6. And I got up and did some more shit just so I could have a 7, promise you. So I really don't want you to feel like you should be beating yourself up. But what I want you to do is I want you to get comfortable with the truth. Your ego will try to use the truth as a weapon. So anytime you catch yourself feeling ashamed about your score, snap your rubber band and go, you know what? Yes, I can do better. I can do better. Remember I told you in my commitment journal, my 4th line is, I can do better. So I don't know if you can see this. Let's see. I can do better. So I can do better is a big deal for me. I remind myself all the time, I can do better. Instead of beating myself up, I just look at that and go, crap, I can do better. I can totally do better. So Luke, when you catch yourself, just think, I can do better. Now, yes, Harry wants the slides too. Okay, so I will make sure, and I need to write these down because I am not exactly convinced that like all of this information will disappear. So it was Harry and Mike, and I can't remember who else said they wanted, yeah, Harry and Mike and Nicole. Okay, so old-fashioned pen and paper because who knows what will happen if I like, you know, forget to do something. We are about at the end of our 90 minutes. Is there anything else that you would like to ask me? You can ask me something complicated. Remember, the people in this room don't know who you are. So if you want to ask me, you know, something that's really valuable to you, please go ahead. I'm just sitting here. I'm happy to help you guys. I mean, this is my journey of teaching. This is me trying to collect those 10 people. Josh, I'm adding you to the slides list. Got you. This is my journey of figuring out how to teach and how to find those people whose lives I can speed up and make them so freaking amazing that everybody in the world realizes that Fearless Group is what they want. So that's why all those bonuses are there. That's why all the effort. That's why I'm giving all the extra, because I'm like, I really want to amass a group of freaking superstars. I want to have to be able to put that disclaimer, results are not typical. Okay, well, I'm thinking that we are winding down on our questions. So I'm going to say thank you so much. It has been lovely teaching you. It is just, if I could tell you how fulfilling it is that I did this thing that was scary. Isn't it funny that it's scary? Because I've done all these summits and all these interviews and I've been a lawyer for 15 years. But it's scary to figure out this software and sit in your living room. You feel naked, you know, and you're just talking to your couch. And you guys are there and you're listening and you're dealing with crazy audio, and I appreciate it. I really appreciate you. Thank you for letting me coach you and lead you. I'm going to continue to do these webinars where I teach, where I give. And Mike, by the way, in case you guys are wondering who you're in this room with, he is like the source of so many good ideas. He thinks of an idea and then he sends it to me and says, teach on this. So he is creating like an entire list of things for me to teach on. Oh my gosh, Deli said he took notes. It was so clear and I'm having so much fun. Thank you. Okay, I'm excited. So I'm going to close my camera and then I will switch you guys over let me get my thingy here. Let's see, in the room. I'm going to switch you guys over, and yeah, you're probably gonna, I don't think you see my screen. I'm gonna switch you guys over to that site where you can, if you would, it would be awesome for me to put in just your name, your email to remind me for your slides, or if you wanna schedule the call with me, go ahead and do that. But thank you so much. If you have other questions, you can contact me at this link that is getting ready to come up. So I'm super excited, and thank you for being here with me. I just, oh, it's been really, really good. All right, you're about to disappear to my website. Bye, everybody.